Welcome to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with your host, Rosalind Sedaka. Join Rosalind each week on a journey toward overcoming life's many challenges to achieve peace, empowerment, and positive transformation. It's time to relax, unwind, and transform your life with Rosalind Sedaka.
Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sedaka, divorce and parenting coach, founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and co-host of Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. I'm very happy to be with you today with a wonderful guest who has a wealth of valuable information to share with us, and her name is Karen Bigman. I'm going to tell you about her program, and then I'll give you a little bit of background about Karen. So getting back to dating after a long marriage is incredibly intimidating. Being fixed up by a friend or family member is a rare occurrence. And the good news is that today we have a great tool regarding online dating. There's a whole pool of prospective dates that you never would have had access to before. So we're going to join the divorcierge, Karen Bigman, as she gives us advice and tips on how to get back out there and find your match. And the title of this show is Dating in a New World. So I want to welcome you, Karen.
Thank you for having me, Rosalind. Nice to be here.
It's a pleasure. And real briefly, let me tell people about you. Karen works with individuals navigating divorce. After a long marriage and subsequent divorce, Karen started the divorcierge at the-divorcierge.com to help women struggling with their families and finances during divorce and those who are trying to build a new life afterwards. Her business has become global and now has grown to include men as well. Karen calls on her business and life coach training to offer her clients a unique perspective. She has a wealth of professional resources she refers to for their help and expertise along the way. And her educational background includes a BA from Boston University, an MBA from Columbia Business School, and Martha Beck Life Coach Training Program. Karen is a certified divorce coach, and I am very excited to have her with us today because she has so much information that is of value to those of you who are dealing with moving on after divorce, as well as being single and not sure how to approach online dating effectively to get the kind of results that are really worthwhile. So, Karen, thank you for joining us. And let's dive in. And it's my pleasure. Let me ask you this. What would you say is the first thing that someone post-divorce should think about before starting to date again?
First thing I always say to clients and to anyone who asks me about it is, are you ready? You know, I've had people come to events that haven't even started their divorce process. So it's really important that emotionally you're in a good place to start dating. If you're just starting the divorce process, if you're still very angry with your ex and you're holding on to a lot of emotion, if you have very low self-esteem, if you really believe deep down you're never going to find anybody, those are probably signs that you're not quite ready to start dating. On the other hand, it's natural and normal to be nervous, but if you're nervous and been staying home alone all the time, you don't want to do that anymore. If you've had an unhappy marriage or long relationship, but you really hope for something better in the future, and if you really believe in yourself, then you're ready to get started.
Great. Well, that makes a lot of sense. So what would you say is the best way to get started and jump into this craziness, especially when it has to do with online dating, which is something that 20 years ago no one had to tackle?
Indeed. Well, before I go into online dating, I mean, people do occasionally meet people outside of the online dating world. So I would definitely make sure that you do start telling people, I'm ready. I've been through this tough time, but I want to go out and meet some new people. I had someone once say to me that her mom told her when she got divorced that you need just two friends post-divorce, one to go out with and one to go out with if they cancel. So I do say, get yourself out there, get yourself ready. strike up conversations in the gym and the grocery store. I hear Friday nights and certain grocery stores are a really good night to meet people. Starbucks, meetups, etc. And really open yourself up. My saying is if you open yourself up, then the universe opens for you. And then you go and you start to explore online dating.
If one is ready to tackle online dating, and I know you hear so many different perspectives from different people, it can very often be intimidating, especially if it's new to you, and especially if you've been out of the dating world for a long time, which is often the case when someone is divorced and has been married for several years. So how would you allay those fears and address people who are just intimidated, frightened, insecure about what lies ahead in the world of online dating?
I think that it is definitely very frightening because, you feel like once you expose yourself that, who knows what will happen. And the truth is that if people want to find out information today, they can find it out whether you're online dating or not. I was extremely nervous. I had been married for 25 years and, it was the same thing for me. But what I realized was that all of a sudden there's this whole universe of people out there that I never would have met before. I met my current boyfriend online and, we had no connection whatsoever. He lives an hour away. We're not connected through business and through friends. And so here was this pool of people that I got to meet. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be safe about how you approach it, but it's definitely, a new way and get used to it because it's a great way.
And what is it that makes online dating so great?
So to start with, you've got a large pool, which is positives and negatives. You do have to weed out certain people, but you also, you get, I think it's a good opportunity to kind of get really introspective and figure out, you've had this failed relationship or this long relationship that didn't work out. And now you want to find a way to go on to the next relationship. So you really, look into the things that are important to you. And you can see based on the profiles and the way you look at them, which I'll make some points about before, you're seeing things in people that you want. You're knowing in advance whether or not they have children, whether you have common hobbies, whether they live nearby, whether how they interact, what they talk about in terms of their profile in their family life, in their extended family life. You're learning a lot more about people before you even meet them.
Yes, and there's a lot of value in that. In the olden days when you were meeting a lot of people in clubs and environments where singles were just put together because they were single, there's really not an easy way in having a casual conversation at a bar or across a table to get a lot of that information in advance. And so you really can be pre-qualifying. Is that right?
Exactly. You're narrowing it down to people that love to bike just like you, or people who want children just like you, or don't want children and have grown children. It's really a great way to narrow things down before you get out there.
So this is an important question, and that is, what should people be thinking about as they're searching?
So first of all, like I said, you want to be introspective. What do you absolutely need in a partner? What would you like in a partner? And then what would you absolutely not like? If you do not want children, don't go on a date with someone who has 4 kids. But if you absolutely want to have children, you also want to make sure that the person that you're dating wants to have children, because people are serious, things like that. So you want to think about all the things that are important to you. What are your hobbies? What are the hobbies that you want your partner to have? I had it was sort of interesting when my boyfriend and I started dating. In his profile, he was very clear that he's a tennis player and wants somebody to play tennis. And I can't remember exactly how we ended up having our first conversation, but I started with, let me just tell you very clearly, I don't know how to play tennis and I don't anticipate that I'll be learning. And it actually has worked out to be something really great, because he has his thing to do and I have mine when he's playing tennis. So sometimes, you think that you don't want, or you think you want something, and then you realize that it's not. But there are definitely your deal breakers. So you want to look for that. Particularly when you're going online, you want to, read the profile and get a sense of who the person is. And you really can, whether they're, if they're true to who they are, you'll get a sense from the profile.
So there's an important question that always comes up for me when talking to my clients, and that is, how do we ask questions before we meet? Say we're having a phone conversation. Some people I know just text initially. But how do we ask questions to find out, one, if this is a legitimate and someone isn't pulling our leg or outright lying or deceiving us? And how do we get to the essence of wanting to know certain things about people, what kind of work they do, and certain values and beliefs, without sounding like you're a mechanical machine or interrogator or something else? I think there must be a fine line there. I was wondering if you had any tips or insights.
Well, the first thing, so the way online dating works is you put up your profile and then you are matched, or so there's the online apps like Match.com, Plenty of Fish, OkCupid, et cetera. And then there's, Tinder and Bumble and ones where you're swiping. So you get different amounts of information. So you have to, decide whether you're okay with just a little bit of information and then going to a phone call versus you want to have a lot. And I say the first thing you do is you reach out with a question that you want an answer to. Like, I see that you climb Mount Everest. It's on my bucket list. What was it like? If the person answers you, good, they're probably not that, but if they're really not going to engage. But if they answer you with a little more information, then you can kind of get a sense of the person. And then the next thing I will say, and these are, there's a couple of little, rules of thumb that I actually, there's a great book by Laurie Edwards called Love at First Click. And, her suggestions are, if there's more than 6 written interactions, and you don't go to a phone call or a meeting, then you probably want to move on. So if somebody just wants to have this sort of online texting relationship back and forth, that's nice and it's fun, but that's probably not what you're looking for, and that's not what they're looking for. So you want to keep going. Once you speak to somebody, you got to use your instincts a little bit. I mean, I had a friend who, the gentleman was speaking, well, he still lives at home. His wife and him are not together. And every time they tried to set up a date, there was, well, we can't be in this town. We have to be in this town. And it became very clear that this gentleman was married, and she never ended up going on a date with him. So you have to be smart. You really do. And some people are really good at deceiving you. And so you do need to be careful. But I think that's less common than we think.
So you need to get your antenna up and really be paying attention to the feelings you're getting about someone and not being naive through the process.
Exactly.
Well, let's stop for just a moment here. You've been listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. I'm Rosalind Sadaka, founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, dating and relationship coach, divorce and parenting coach, and I am talking to Karen Bigman, and we will be right back.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sadaka. You're listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living on the Going Solo Network, WGSN-DB, and I'm interviewing Karen Bigman, who is talking to us about the wonderful world of dating, especially online dating after divorce. And we are talking about important factors that'll help you be more savvy and wise as you're going through the process. Karen, why don't we look at the experience of going on the date once you've discerned that this is a prospective person of interest to you? Tell us what we need to know and do and watch out for.
So the first thing I say, and I didn't mention it earlier, but it's also important when you go on to getting online, is you want to look for a friend. If you go out there and I have to meet my soulmate, this has got to be the man, the woman of my dreams, the partner of my dreams, you're going to get disappointed most likely. So if you go, you make a new friend. They may not be for you. They may be somebody that you want to fix your friend up, or they may have been a nice evening and you move on. So that's the first thing. So when you're going on the date, remember that your date is probably just as nervous as you. I have a little rule that I kind of wait outside the venue and take a couple deep breaths and come in a couple minutes late. I have another friend who always comes early to make sure she's got her lipstick on and she's ready before they arrive. So figure out a little ritual that it's kind of scary. I mean, 25 years out of the dating, and sometimes there are clients who've never dated. They married their high school sweetheart and they've never done it. So it's okay to be nervous. You certainly don't want to, if a cocktail helps, you don't want to have more than, get yourself too intoxicated. But
no.
You go on. And then sometimes people are very quick to make a date over dinner. Dinner can be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and if you're not feeling this person, that could be a really long evening. So I suggest short coffee. If it's going well, great, you can stay longer, or a cocktail, whatever works for you. But then you have an out if you're really not into it. And it's okay to say, you're a very nice person. I'm this was very lovely. I think I'm ready to go home. You don't have to fake it. We're all doing this, for the same reason.
I think that's very, very honest and right on target, and everyone knows why you're there. So I think people respect one another if they're being candid. And I really liked your suggestion about looking for a friend. There's value in having a friendship, even if nothing more comes to it in a romantic sense. So looking for a friend is a good way to start, and relationships that start on a friendship basis and grow deeper really have more substance and foundation than relationships that are just based on physical, sexual attraction. So it really makes sense on many, many levels to be looking for a friend, and you're not going to be as disappointed with the outcome if that's what you're going in for, this need to find your soulmate and your Mr. Ms. Right on that one date puts a lot of erroneous pressure on you that doesn't necessarily serve on a long-term basis. So thank you for making that suggestion. I know everyone listening is interested in your advice about moving from casual relationship into a much more intimate relationship, getting back into bed with someone new, especially after it's been a long time. And I was wondering what ideas and suggestions you have in that regard.
That is so important. And, that's one thing, especially those of us in middle age, we really didn't think about it too much when we were younger. We were thinking about, make sure she doesn't get pregnant. That was like the big fear. Mm-hmm. And so if you've really been out of, any kind of intimate relationship for a long time, things have changed. The most important thing that you need to know is be safe. You don't be intimidated by taking practical measures. If you want to get in bed with somebody, nothing's 100%, but, you should have blood tests. Check for, ask your doctor what they think are the most common ones, or do the research yourself. And even with the test, until you're in a committed relationship where you both know exactly what you're getting into, condoms. I think that's so important. And, it is kind of, it's a little embarrassing to ask the other person, but, it's uncomfortable but important. And if the other person is not interested in discussing with you, if they're saying, don't worry, maybe you want to consider whether they're the right person to get into bed with.
Absolutely.
And the other thing, and I think this is something more for women, but I'm sure men have the same issue. Before you get into bed, think about how you're going to feel in the morning. So, Are you okay? Just having a one-night stand, that might be the best thing for you if you've been in a long relationship, as long as you do it safely. But will you feel terrible if you never hear from him again? So think about it and make sure that you're emotionally that you're ready to do it.
I think that's great advice, and I always suggest to my clients that if you're doing something as intimate as having sex with someone who can't even talk to you about it and answer questions about it, then I really question whether that's the right move. You should at least be on a level where you could talk about the various things that need to be addressed beforehand, and that's why I definitely discourage people from moving too quickly into the sexual arena, because women especially are much more likely to be hurt emotionally when the situation moves into that level and then suddenly it doesn't work out the way you may expect. So you want to guard your heart and your emotions, especially in very new relationships. Take your time and see if this person is worthy of you. And that's on both sides, male and female. Before we move ahead, Karen, I want to ask you to share with our listeners how they could find you, contact you, and what kind of services you provide.
Right, thanks. So my website is the-divorcierge.com, and that is like Divorce Concierge put together. So DIVORCIERGE. I am available online, and I have a newsletter you can subscribe to. I recently started putting out a video divorce tip of the week, and I provide services from, everything from the start of you're about to get divorced, how do I do it, what do I do, supporting you through the process, helping you put, a roadmap together for the process with goals and plans and action items, and then we can work through right to getting back into dating.
That's wonderful. I highly recommend Karen's services, and we complement one another because I am focusing on the parenting side of the equation and how to handle your children. Karen is focusing on so many of the other factors before, during, and after divorce, and so we're able to make sure that everyone is getting their emotional, physical, and psychological needs met during these trying times. So it's wonderful to take advantage of having a divorce concierge who can work with you through the process. And Karen works anywhere around the world, so obviously phone and Skype will do the job for you.
Absolutely. And I do travel a little bit, so that's kind of nice.
Terrific. So I want to make sure that I ask you this question about red flag warning signs that we should be looking out for as we move into the dating arena.
Yes, really, really important. So we talked about the intimacy, making sure that you're comfortable with the person and you get the right answers that you want. Start, very quickly on the profiles. If somebody starts with a negative, no drama, I'll tell you later, anything with negative words, they're probably in a bad place and you may not want to go on a date with them. We talked about the texting relationships that never go anywhere. This happened to me right after my divorce. I went online and I started a relationship with someone, and we were having this wonderful banter over texting, and then we started FaceTiming, and within, to me, this was a relationship right away. It happened very quickly, and then all of a sudden he disappeared, and I crash landed. And I thought back on the relationship quote, and I realized that in total we had actually only spent 36 hours together over 3 months. And it was a false sense of a relationship just being in the texting. So that is like a really important red flag. That don't get lured into something that's really not real. You want signs of whether you think the person might be married, as I mentioned before. A date that is constantly bad-mouthing their ex. Not somebody that, imagine, either they're not over it or they're angry, and chances are if you don't work out that they're going to be saying the same things about you. Look out for repeating patterns. If you were married to someone who had a narcissistic personality and you sense that the person across the table has those same issues, they're not going to change. This is who that person is. Just because they're good looking and they're funny doesn't mean that the relationship is going to be something that's good for you. So pay attention, check in with yourself. If you need to speak to somebody, speak to a coach, speak to a friend, speak to a relationship counselor. Sometimes when you're thinking it for a reason.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that advice. That's really valuable. So one more time, just remind us how we can find you.
So it's the-divorcierge.com. I'll give you my phone number too, 646-612-7800. I am in the New York tri-state area for anybody who wants to meet in person, and I can do video, FaceTime, Skype for those who are not located nearby.
Excellent. So, Karen, what takeaway advice do you have for our listeners to just give them the reminder about the most important aspects of your message?
So I think open yourself up and the universe opens. I'm going to repeat that. You've got to be open. it's okay to be nervous. It's like starting a new job. You're going to be nervous, but you'll get right back, and it can be fun if you go at it with the right attitude and you go at it safely. You know, I know many people who are in relationships where they met their partner in all age ranges, not just the younger generation, through online dating.
That's wonderful. Well, great advice. Wonderful insight. I really appreciated everything you shared with our listeners and totally concur with everything that you're suggesting people do and not do. So thank you so much. We've been listening to Karen Bigman, the divorcierge, and we will be looking forward to having another show very soon. You've been listening to Rosalind Sadaka at Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living on the Going Solo Network, WGSN-DB. And you could learn more about me and my services at childcentereddivorce.com. Thank you so much, Karen, and we will be back again next week on the show. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.